ammonium, nitrates and nitrites, and then eventually returns back to the atmospheric nitrogen. Getting it now? It's a cycle, just like the water cycle takes place now. What happens in the water cycle?
So what? What?
What happens in water cycle?
The
Water.
water go. The water is gone back up.
Basically, water also goes through several processes, right now. It transfers from one state to another and eventually turns back to its original state. So in the similar manner, nitrogen cycle is also one such thing. Further, in the case of nitrogen cycle, we learned that the very first step was the nitrogen fixation. That was nitrogen fixation. What happens in nitrogen fixation? The atmospheric nitrogen is converted into the form that can be used by the organisms. So this will have several steps, like basically in this, the atmospheric nitrogen will be converted by the action of nitrogen fixing bacteria like rhizobium bacteria into ammonia. Ammonia now, right? So plants can directly absorb this ammonia, by the way, but we see that further this ammonia is converted into nitrate. What happens? It is further converted into nitrates by the action of nitrifying bacteria. Getting it? What I'm trying to say. So in the process of nitrification, what we are getting to see, like in the case of nitrogen fixation, we have done from the atmospheric nitrogen, it is converting into ammonia now, right?
Yeah.
This is atmospheric nitrogen. From this, it has converted into ammonia. Okay. Further, in the process of nitrification, what is happening here? There are some bacteria. Okay, now there are different groups of bacteria that is now going to convert this ammonia into nitrates and nitrites. So in nitrification, what we know that ammonia is converted by nitrifying bacteria into nitrates and nitrites. Nitrates and nitrites. By the way, this NO3 that you are seeing here, that is called as nitrate. What do we call this? That is nitrates. Okay, now, while NO2 is nitrite. That is nitrate. Okay, that is one thing. Now, this nitrates will be absorbed by the plant. You will be familiar with the term of assimilation. You know, once the food is digested in the human body, then it is absorbed, and the action of the process of absorption of the digested food, that is called assimilation. Similar term is being used here also, right now. So this nitrate is now being absorbed by the plant, and that process is being called as, yes, Ramesh?
Assimilation.
Assimilation. Getting it now? So assimilation is that in this nitrate is taken up by the plant. Okay, that is one thing. Now, while all this is happening, at the same time, we are seeing that when the animal would be releasing their waste, or when they will die, or the plant will die, so when their body will decompose now, so then during the process of decomposition, we know decomposition is carried out by several bacteria, fungi, and lot of other organisms, right now, insects, worms. So while their body will be decaying, so thereby in the process of decaying of those organism, those dead matter, ammonium is released. What is it? This is ammonium. Getting it now? Further, ammonium also gets converted into nitrite. Okay, no? Gets converted into nitrite. Okay. So that is one thing. So here ammonification is taking place, or basically that is that is decomposition. So it's the process which is going to convert the convert the nitrogenous compound present in the dead organic waste of plants or animals, or their waste excreta, into ammonia. Into ammonium, I mean to say. Got this now? That is one thing. Okay. So it is the process in which Nitrogenous compounds present in dead organic matter upon decomposition is released as ammonium released ammonium, and this process is being called as ammonification. Hope this should be clear to you. It's a reaction that is converting the nitrogenous compound present in the dead organic matter into ammonium. So when an organism will be dying, so they will be like when an organism dies or when they're going to excrete the waste, the nitrogen is being released into the form of ammonium. That is one thing. Okay, now this has several benefits as well, like ammonium, or sometimes we call this like this ammonium. Basically, now it is taken up by the plants, like it is one of the nutrient for the plant. Getting it now? Okay, now so that is the case here. After this, what we are seeing here, after this denitrification takes place. So in the process of denitrification, what we are seeing that the nitrates are now being converted back into the atmospheric nitrogen by the action of denitrifying bacteria. What is happening here? In the process of denitrification, the nitrates are converted back into the atmospheric nitrogen. So nitrates are converted back into atmospheric nitrogen. So is the whole process clear to you? The steps of nitrogen cycle, we have learned this. Okay, now so nitrogen fixation, nitrification, assimilation, ammonification, and then finally denitrification. So in these different steps, the process completes. Okay. Further, we have the question like, how is it important? Read the paragraph. Read this.
Importance of nitrogen cycle. It supports life. Nitrogen is essential for making proteins and DNA, which all living things need to grow and function. Soil health. The nitrogen cycle replenishes soil nitrogen in the soil, helping plants grow better and keeping the soil fertile. Ecosystem balance. It maintains the balance of ecosystems by recycling nutrients, supporting a variety of plants and animals. Air quality. The cycle helps control the amount of nitrogen gas in the atmosphere, which is important.
Clean air. Good. So it supports the life. We know that all living organisms, they are made up of protein basically. Like if you were to look at the skin, the muscles, and the bones, a major component present in our different cells and tissues is protein and DNA as well. And to make up these things, to make protein and DNA, nitrogen is essential. Okay, now so thereby it becomes important to maintain the health of the soil. Like nitrogen is one of the important nutrient out of the 16 essential nutrients for the plant. That is one thing. Further, it maintains the balance of ecosystem by recycling the nutrient present in the body of a living organism. If a living organism has eaten some plant, if they have consumed plant based material, so they are getting the nutrients from the plant, and when that organism will die, it will decompose, and all the nutrients that were locked in the body of that organism will then go back into the soil. Now the plants had earlier taken up all the nutrients from the soil. Now when the organism die, those nutrients are returned back to the soil. So in this manner, there's a cycle of nutrient that is going on, and which maintains a balance in the ecosystem. Okay, now so just imagine if the decomposition of organisms were not to take place, right? Or somehow the nutrients are not being returned back to the soil. Eventually, after some time, the soil will become unfertile and no more plants will grow. So the ecosystem will be in balance now, right, Ramesh?
Yes, sir.
How much of nitrogen is present in the atmosphere?
Uh, like
Yes.
71%.
No.
Oh,
21% is oxygen now.
21. Yeah.
78% is nitrogen. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's do these questions. The host for malaria causing protozoa is.
Female Anopheles mosquito.
Okay. Next, the bread dosa dough rises because of the
Growth
action
of
of.
heat. Growth of yeast cells.
Good. Next,
Malaria spread by
hmm,
mm,
spread by, not caused by. It is saying spread by.
Female Anopheles
But
mosquito.
if the causative organism is asked, it is caused by
Plasmodium.
Plasmodium. Protozoa shaped like a slipper. Remember the name? Slipper shape.
Amoeba.
No, amoeba does not have a fixed shape. No. How can
Paramecium.
paramecium? Good. The bacteria that turns milk.
Lactobacillus.
Okay. And you tell me the bacteria was first observed by
Wait. Bacteria was
hmm,
Anthony von der.
Antony von Leeuwenhoek. Okay, na?
Yeah.
So in the year 1676, he discovered the bacteria for the first time with a self-made microscope. Okay, na?
Mm.
That is something. Next.
Only inside the cells of host
Hmm.
organisms.
Next.
Lives alone.
Hmm.
Fungi
No,
or
fungi can be found to be living in
amoeba.
amoeba, exactly. Bacteria is found to be living in colonies, basically in group, and fungi also. Okay. All right. Which of these is not classified as major group of microorganism?
Plants.
Good. Next.
Host organism.
Next.
Typhoid is a bacterial disease.
Bacterial. Okay. That is caused by Salmonella typhi. Okay, na? And it's a waterborne disease basically, but can be spread via contaminated food also. Okay.
The bacterium
Next.
promotes the formation of milk into curd. Lactobacillus.
Next.
Yeast.
This one.
Antibiotics. No. Was it vaccine?
Edward Jenner. Okay. First of all, tell me what did the Edward Jenner do?
Vaccine?
He invented the vaccines. Very good. And vaccines for which disease?
Smallpox.
Smallpox. Okay, no? And you know, he has been referred to as the father of immunology also. Father of immunology. Immunology, you getting the term? Like you aware with the term immune now?
To become, to be protected from something.
Yeah, basically immune refers to the immune refers to the defense system of the body, right? No? So in immunology, we'll be studying about the immune system and how it will be defending our body against the diseases. Okay, na?
Yes, sir.
So since for his pioneering work in the field of immunology, he has been called as father of immunology. Okay, na? Okay, continue next.
Fermentation.
Next.
Both A and wait,
Both A and B.
B.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is correct, in fact. Okay, no?
Okay.
And specifically, we have examples of bacteria like Rhizobium bacteria. Okay,
Hmm.
which is not a communicable disease.
Diabetes.
Diabetes, which is the plant disease caused by microorganism.
Microorganism.
Remember?
Citrus canker.
Citrus canker. Okay, what kind of fruit is infected with citrus canker?
Okra.
Not okra. That was yellow vein
Lemon.
mosaic.
Lemon. That
Lemon.
is uh, all all fruits containing citrus.
All citrus fruits basically. Okay, no?
Okay.
Whether it be
Okay.
orange, whether it be grape, or whether it be lemon. Okay, no? Etc.
Okay.
Okay, next question.
Microorganisms are too small and not visible to the naked eye. True. Viruses can reproduce anywhere. False. Bacteria are an essential part of nitrogen cycle. True. Nitrogen is used for the synthesis of plant proteins and other compounds. True.
Very good.
Edward Jenner discovered pasteurization. False.
Who discovered pasteurization?
Louis Pasteur.
Okay, very good. Okay. And then you name the type of microorganism that is smaller than bacteria.
Virus.
Viruses, no? Okay. In fact, viruses could be about 15 to 60 times smaller than the bacteria. Okay, no? Like if you were to take the smallest bacteria, if you were to take the smallest bacteria, and if you were to take the virus will still be 15 to 60 times smaller than it. Just imagine it. Okay, na? By the way, the smallest bacteria That is so the smallest bacteria that we have discovered so far is Mycoplasma gallisepticum. What is the name? Mycoplasma gallisepticum. Getting it now?
Yes,
Mycoplasma
sir.
gallisepticum. Okay. Next question.
Right.
Write the use of yeast.
Yeast is used in the baking industry for making breads.
Okay. And in the alcohol industry as well.
Hmm.
Okay. What are pathogens?
Uh, Pathogens are small organisms that are not available are that are not seen by the naked eye. They can be harmful and useful to us.
Pathogens are harmful only.
Oh, okay.
Getting it? No, pathogens will
Mm.
be they are organisms that will be causing a range of different disease in the humans. Okay, no, that is one thing. And further question asked that another name of pathogen.
Bacteria.
Basically, another name of not see when how can we say that it's bacteria? Are the fungus not responsible for causing disease? Pathogen refers to all to the microorganism that will cause disease. It's not only the bacteria, no? So they are called as infectious agent. What do we call them? Another name?
Infectious agent.
Yeah, this thing we haven't learned, I think. Yeah, the another name for pathogen.
Yeah.
So that is infectious agent. Okay, continue.
Who discovered the vaccine for smallpox? Edward Jenner.
Edward Jenner, very good. Okay, yeah. What is vaccine?
Vaccine is,
Yep.
sir, is it? We
Mhm.
can't call it an antibiotic, right? Okay.
Antibiotics are different from vaccines. No?
Okay.
Antibiotics are
Vaccine
effective. Continue.
Vaccine is a type of medicine where like weak microorganisms go to the body and
Mhm.
simulate a bacterial virus attack, so the body is ready for a stronger virus.
By
Or
how does your immune system respond to it?
yeah, um,
By producing.
more white blood cells. Or,
Okay, that is going to happen, but it produces antibodies now.
okay,
That is the important thing. Vaccines, they will contain the weakened or the killed version of viruses or in some cases bacteria as well. Okay, so when you are administered with the vaccine, your immune system is of course going to respond now. How it responds? It produces the antibodies, which is going to fight that germ. Okay, now further, your body, your immune system will also remember that disease causing pathogen, which like basically the vaccine will contain either killed or either weak version of the microorganism. It could be bacteria or virus, both. So the body will produce antibodies, and while your body will be fighting with the pathogen, that is with that while your body will be fighting with it, okay, will be fighting with the germ, so your body will produce antibodies and it will remember that germ and it will remember how to fight it. So if you were to expose to the actual and the stronger version of that virus of that germ again, then your immune system can quickly recognize it and can destroy it. Getting it though?
yes, sir.
So that is one thing. Okay. So vaccines are like we have given the vaccines for flu, for COVID-19, right now for diphtheria, for tetanus, etc. Okay, next.
Name any two human diseases caused by viruses.
Hmm.
Coronavirus, then hepatitis B.
Good. Name
Name many
three. Mhm.
common plant diseases. Wheat rust, yellow
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 vein.
mos yellow vein mosaic, then
Mhm.
citrus trunca.
Well done. Yeah. Name a microorganism which helps in nitrogen fixation.
Rhizobium.
Rhizobium, very good. Okay. Name a disease caused by food poisoning. Disease caused by
Salmonella.
food poisoning.
Salmonella.
Salmonella, yeah, we can. Salmonella is the name of the bacteria. Na. Typhoid
So
is.
typhoid.
Okay.
But
But the most
salmonella is also disease.
salmonella, I don't think there's any disease by the name of salmonella. You're saying
Okay, so
salmonella. Salmonella, instead of salmonella, it is called as typhoid now.
Okay.
See, Ramesh, salmonella typhi is the name of the bacteria that causes typhoid. Okay, no, it's the bacteria, and the disease caused by it is typhoid fever. Getting it now? Getting
Yes,
the
sir.
difference between it? Okay, no,
Yeah.
that is
Yes,
the
sir.
case. Okay. Further, as I was saying, that there are different diseases caused due to food poisoning. Okay, no, like one of the one of the disease could be like in which the person would be vomiting a lot. Okay, no, if they would be vomiting a lot, they will be suffering from diarrhea, there will be pain in their abdominal region. So that is said as norovirus. Norovirus. Okay, no. So this is also one such disease that is being caused by norovirus. Okay, no. So that is the case here. So here we have finished the chapter. Today I'm thinking, since no other students have joined the class, actually now everyone is busy in their exams. So suppose if someone's science exam is over, then they are preparing for other exams. Like Vaiga will be preparing for social science exam, and so as other students are preparing for other exams. Your exam is on 11th of November, right?
October.
Yeah, sorry, Tuba, I mean to say. So, as I have your syllabus here, do tell me which chapter you'd like to do. How about we do? How much time we have left?
Around 37 minutes.
Yeah, around 37 minutes. In fact, we have left. So let's do one thing. By the way, did you had a class schedule for the chapter materials, metals, and non-metals?
No,
Not yet.
no.
Yeah, I asked them to schedule it. By the way. Okay. Anyways, let's do it in the class. Okay.
Sir,
It
I
or
have I have a bit of difficulties in the chemical reactions of metals and non-metals.
okay. So that topic will be taking particularly. Okay, now.
Okay,
Hmm. So the properties or other things are clear to you.
sir. Only
Oh,
the chemical reactions.
okay, I got it. Like you will be having confusion in how the metal is going to react with oxygen, what kind of oxide will it be, acidic or basic oxide will be formed,
Yes,
or
sir.
non-metals will be reacting with the water, air, acid, and base, etc. Right? I get it. Okay. Give me a minute, since actually no, I it's like unplanned. Like I was not I haven't planned that we'll be doing this. So there are some overwritings from the previous class which I have to clean so that our class will be smooth. Okay, now. So meanwhile, you can answer some other questions to me. Do tell me what are the physical properties of metals?
They are lustrous, durable,
Yes.
malleable, ductile.
Very good. And one more thing you're missing. One thing you're missing. They are
Uh,
sonorous.
Sonorous. Yeah.
They will be producing a ringing sound upon being struck with a heavy object or metallic object or anything, right? Okay. What about the property of the non-metals?
The non-metals.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
Property. I'm not sure about that.
Like they are having a dull appearance simply. It will be just the opposite of the physical property of the metal. If the
Okay.
metals are if the metals are hard, so they will not be hard. If the metals will be producing a sound, they will not be producing the sound. Non-metals will not produce sound. They are having a dull appearance. They are non-ductile and non-malleable. So just the opposite of the metal. Getting it, Ramesh? Okay. Also, can you quote some of the examples of the metals?
Gold, silver, aluminum, copper.
Gold, silver. Okay. Also, tell me, are there some metals that exist in the liquid state at the room temperature?
Yes. Gallium and mercury.
Gallium and mercury.
Mercury.
Well done. Well done. Okay. Are there any metal that you'd be able to cut with a knife?
Yes. Sodium.
Sodium. There's one more, by the way. It's potassium. Okay, now
Okay.
potassium also. Just 1 minute. Give me 1 minute, then I'll be resharing my screen. Let me just give a quick recap to you. Okay, no? Anyways, we're going to learn about reaction, but let me give you a quick recap to you. So here we are getting to see some examples of metals like iron, copper, nickel, silver, uh, zinc, etc. We have the example of like sulfur, yellow sulfur, red sulfur, chalk. These examples of non-metals. Now, in total, in nature, there are about more than 118 elements present in the nature. Elements are the pure substances, right now. For example, if I am having a iron object in my hand, so this is purely made up of iron. This is purely made up of iron. If I'm having something in my hand, let's say this is made up of silver, so it is having purely silver in it. So elements are the purest metal, purest object that we have in the nature. So in total, there are about more than 118 elements in the nature that we have. Some of them are metals, some of them are non-metals. Getting it now? So metals, we describe them as those chemical. You have learned about the chapter chemical effect of electric current or not?
No.
Not yet. Okay, okay. Anyways, otherwise, no, if you would have learned that chapter, I would have told you about the chemical properties of the metals. Okay, like I mean to say how we define it chemically. Nonetheless, we see that metals are those objects that will be hard, that will be lustrous. Okay, no, that will be hard, that will be lustrous, that will produce sound upon being struck, that will be malleable and ductile, etc. Okay, so these are the physical properties of the metals. Further, they are tough and strong as well. They are sonorous. They will be producing a sound. They will be producing a ringing sound upon being struck. We have exceptions here, like sodium, potassium, or mercury. They don't have such property. They can be beaten into thin sheets. So that is the property of malleability. They can be drawn into wires. Okay, now we know that gold is the most ductile metal we have. Getting it? No? Gold is the most ductile metal we have. Talking about the physical properties of non-metals, they are brittle, meaning that upon being struck with a hammer, that it will break into pieces. Like for example, coal. Right now, coal. Coal is made up of carbon, and carbon is a non-metal. So upon being hit, this coal is going to break into several pieces. But at the same time, we have a piece of diamond. Diamond is again made up of carbon, but will be able to break it into several pieces just with a hammer?
No,
No.
because it's the most durable
Exactly.
item
It
in the world.
exactly. Plus, it has got to do with the crystallization. Like it's a crystal now, and when you will look at its structure, it is a crystal basically. So crystals are usually hard. Okay, so there we have one exception here. They are non-lustrous except for graphite. Graphite is also non-metal, but it has a shiny appearance. Getting it, Ramesh?
So,
Okay. Then the differences in their physical property are as follows. Metals, they are malleable, they are ductile, they're a good conductor of heat and electricity, they are having a shiny appearance, they are strong, except for sodium and potassium, which are not strong. They have low tensile strength, meaning that you can't use it to, if you were to pull it, it will pull apart easily. Metals are sonorous also, and they are generally hard, as we have the exception for sodium and potassium here. In the case of non-metals, they are neither malleable nor they are ductile. Instead, they are brittle. They are poor conductors of both heat and electricity. We have the exception of graphite, which is a good conductor of electricity. Right? Non-metals are dull in appearance. They are not as strong and they have a low tensile strength. Okay, no? Meaning that if you were to pull it, it will break. They are not sonorous. They are not going to produce any sound upon being struck. They are quite soft also. All the non-metals are soft except for diamond, which is extremely hard. Talking about the chemical property of the metals and non-metals. Okay, na? So talking about chemical property, let's say we have the talking about the metals first of all. We'll be learning about how the metals will be reacting with oxygen, how it is going to react with water and acid, etc. Getting it now? So this is what we are going to learn in the reaction. So say we have some metal, and if you were to react with oxygen, so metals upon reaction with oxygen will give a metal oxide. Take for example, you have copper. Copper is a metal, right?
yes,
It
sir.
reacts with oxygen. So upon reaction with oxygen, it gives a copper oxide. What does it give? It gives a copper oxide. And copper oxide is black in color, by the way. This is black in color. Getting it? Right? Or we have some other metals also, like aluminum. That too is a metal now. It reacts with oxygen to give you aluminum oxide. Aluminum oxide. We have magnesium. It reacts with oxygen to give magnesium oxide. So that is the chemical property of the metal, how it will be reacting with oxygen. Further, the thing is that the reactivity of metals with oxygen will be differing. Like here we have seen that all of them are reacting with oxygen normally. Getting it, Ramesh? But if you were to take the examples, if you were to take the special case of like sodium, so sodium and potassium, particularly potassium as well, they are going to react very much vigorously with air, so vigorously that they are going to catch fire if they were to be kept in open. Have you seen those videos in which if the sodium is kept in air, it will automatically catch fire? It does the spontaneous combustion. Yeah. So they will be reacting with oxygen, and in the process of doing so, lots of heat is released. Lots of heat is released. Getting the point or not? What I'm trying to say here.
Yes, sir.
So they react so vigorously that they are going to catch fire. Both of this will be catching fire.
Sir,
That is one thing.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, okay.
I'm back.
Yeah. Okay, now that is the case here. Further, the thing is now the metal oxides are usually basic in nature. What I'm saying that all these metal oxides, they are usually basic in nature. So usually metal oxides are basic in nature, but we have some exceptions. We have some exceptions to this. Okay, now like we have the exception of aluminum oxide. We have the exception of aluminum oxide, like this one. When aluminum reacts with oxygen, it gives aluminum oxide. But the thing is that it is it will be like it is going now. It is going to react with both acids and bases to give salt and water. It is going to react with both acid and base to give salt and water. So although what we are seeing here that most of the metal oxides are basic in nature, but we have exception to this, like for example aluminum oxide. So if you are considering aluminum oxide, pay close attention to this thing. If you're considering aluminum oxide as basic, so it should be reacting with an acid, and in the neutralization reaction, what are the products it will be giving? In the neutralization reaction, it is going to give salt and water now. Getting what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
But the thing is now, it will also react with the base also. It can react with the base also to give salt and water. So isn't that a unique thing about this aluminum oxide?
Yes, sir.
You getting the point I'm trying to make here?
Yes, sir.
So it can react with both acid and base to give salt and water. So such oxides, such metallic oxides are called as amphoteric oxides. What do we call them?
Pottery oxide.
So we have exceptions, and they are called as amphoteric oxides, which react with both acids and water to give acid and base to give salt and water. So we have the example of this aluminum oxide. Hope you are getting it.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
if you were to talk about some other metals like copper, like gold, I mean to say, like gold, it does not react with oxygen at all. Gold and metals like silver, it does not react with oxygen at all. No reaction with oxygen. So just think about this. If this were to be reacted with oxygen, will we be able to make ornaments out of these? Obviously no, right, Ramesh? That is one thing. Okay, no. Further, like when we see copper vessels, when you will be seeing copper vessels, objects made up of copper, after some time it will blackens now. Why it black becomes black? Because of a deposition of layer of copper oxide on it. Getting it now? So if a layer of copper oxide has already formed over the copper objects, so thereby the process of further reaction will stop. Getting what I'm trying to say? If this is copper object, say for example, this is a copper object, and there's already a layer of this is a copper object, there's already a layer of copper oxide form over it. So the its contact with air is cut off. So will it react with air anymore?
No.
No. That is one important thing to be kept in mind. Further, we know that if you were to have iron objects, so iron objects normally it does not react with oxygen. But if it were to be burned, like you have some small iron fillings, so then if you were to burn it in the presence of oxygen, then it reacts vigorously. So basically the thing is that normally iron, which is also a metal, it normally under normal condition it does not react with oxygen. But if you were to have iron fillings, you know about iron fillings, iron in the powdered form.
Yes, sir.
So those tiny iron fillings, if that were to be heated in presence of oxygen, then the reaction is going to take place. That is the case. Here we have the example of the magnesium. We have taken a magnesium ribbon. If you were to bring it over this flame, so it is going to react with oxygen and magnesium oxide is formed. And this magnesium oxide, this is a metallic oxide, and the nature of the metallic oxide generally is basic. But how are we going to check whether this is basic or not? How we are going to do so? Huh? So what we are going to do, we will collect this magnesium oxide. Okay, Ramesh. And then we are going to add water in it. After this, we'll be having a solution. And that will be magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium dissolves with water to give magnesium hydroxide. So now we have this in the liquid state. We have this in the aqueous state now. Now we can do the litmus test. Earlier, why can't we do the litmus test? Because it was in a dry state. So litmus paper would not have worked. So if you're going to put the blue litmus paper in it, what will happen? Or if you're going to put the red litmus in it? Okay, first of all, you tell me that how do we check for the presence of basic substances? Which litmus paper we use?
Blue and red litmus paper.
Blue and red litmus paper. In order to check whether it is basic substance, let's say if you have a blue litmus paper. So blue litmus paper we can use to detect the acidic solutions. Or you have red litmus paper that can be used to detect the basic solutions. So in this, if you were to dip the red litmus paper, the color of the red litmus paper is going to change to blue. Got this now? So this basically concludes that metallic oxides are basic in nature. In fact, the same activity you can do for iron oxide also. What is iron oxide commonly called as?
Rust.
Rust, no? So if you were to take some rust and dissolve it in water and do the same litmus test, you will find that the red litmus will turn into blue, thereby confirming again that it is basic in nature. Here we have this special case of the corrosion of iron. Normally, I said that the copper substances turns black in color because of formation of copper oxide now, right, Ramesh? But in some cases, let's say if the air is moist, so the copper is going to react with the water also now, right? And it is going to react with the carbon dioxide in the air also along with oxygen. And as a result of that, copper hydroxide and copper carbonate is formed, and it deposits a green coating on the surface of copper objects. And you might have seen certain pipes, after some time it looks like this. Have you observed this ever?
Yes, sir.
So that is the special case of the corrosion of copper, where it is reacting with carbon dioxide and water as well. Okay, that is the case. Talking about reaction of reaction of non-metal with oxygen. Okay, na? So reaction of non-metal with oxygen will give you a acidic oxide. Take for example sulfur, which I told you it's a non-metal. So here we are heating this sulfur on a combustion spoon. Now we are going to put this into this glass jar and we are going to remove it now. While burning, sulfur dioxide gas is removed, is given off. Here what is happening? Sulfur is burning with oxygen to give sulfur dioxide. What is given? This gas is being released. Now this gas is actually acidic in nature, but how did we check it? So we have collected this gas coming out of the burning of sulfur into this glass jar. Now we have closed the lid. Okay. So we have this sulfur dioxide gas in this. Now we are going to add water in it. We're going to add water. So after addition of water, what will happen? After addition of water, what will happen? The sulfur dioxide will react with water, SO2, that is sulfur dioxide. I'm writing it in short, by the way. Hope you're not getting confused if I'm writing it in short. Yes, Ramesh?
I won't get confused.
Good. So as a result of this, sulfuric acid is formed. Sulfuric acid is formed, and now when we are going to, like, let's say we have added water in this, and now when we are going to do the litmus test now, there what we will find that the red litmus paper, what litmus paper you're going to use? Tell me again.
For acids, blue litmus paper.
Exactly, no. So when you will be dipping the blue litmus paper in it, the color of the blue litmus will change to red,
Red.
indicating that it's a acidic. So thereby we conclude that the non-metals react with oxygen to give a acidic oxide. That is one thing. Okay, no. Okay. Talking about reaction of metals with water. So metal would be reacting with water in some cases. Some of the metals would be reacting with water, some of them will not be reacting with water. Getting it now? So let's say we have some metal here. Take for example, we have taken any given metal and we have taken cold water. You have taken cold water. So there are some metals that will be reacting with even cold water, and as a result, it will give metal hydroxide. Metal hydroxide plus hydrogen gas will be released. Getting this thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But not all the metals would react with the cold water. Getting enough? Because reactivity of different metals are different. So some of the metal will react with cold water, but some of the metal will react with hot water, basically steam. So when some metals will be reacting with the steam, in that case, instead of metal hydroxide, metal oxide is given. What is being given? Metal oxide plus hydrogen gas. Are you getting the are you able to distinguish between these two? What is happening here?
Sir.
Okay, no. Take for example, consider the example of like sodium. Okay, sodium, which is a very reactive metal, as we know. So sodium can react with even cold water, and as a result of that, it will give a metal hydroxide. That will be copper sodium hydroxide. What is given here? Sodium
Hydroxide.
hydroxide is given. Along with this, hydrogen gas is also released. Got this thing now? Now this is a very since the reaction that is going to take place, it will be a very vigorous reaction. So in this, heat is also given. So that is the reaction of a metal taking place with the cold water, in which sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen along with heat is being formed here, is being given here. Right? That is the case here. Now let us take the example of like magnesium. Okay, no? So magnesium, that also reacts with cold water. That can also react with cold water, and in this, magnesium hydroxide will be given. What will be given? Magnesium hydroxide will be
Hydroxide.
given. Hydroxide plus hydrogen will be released in this also. But this reaction is not going to give too much of heat. Okay, now so we are not going to add heat in this. Okay, that is one thing. Further, we have the case of aluminum. So aluminum is going to react with hot water. It is going to react with hot water. And in that process, aluminum oxide is given. Now notice the difference. How is this reaction different from others? Yes, Ramesh?
Um,
Yes. Here, aluminum oxide is given. But in the
yeah,
previous reactions, a hydroxide was given. So magnesium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide. Getting it now?
yes, sir.
But this that is the difference. As in the first place, I told you that metal reacting with cold water will give a metal hydroxide along with gas, hydrogen gas. Metal reacting with steam will give metal oxide, as we have the example of iron. Then we have the example of this iron also. Iron also reacts with oxygen and water to give iron oxide. Can you get that? So that is the case. So iron normally it does not react with cold water that much vigorously. But if we want the reaction to happen fast, so then we can react with the hot water. Okay, na? So here we have this thing. We learned that reaction of metal with cold water gives a metal hydroxide and oxygen and hydrogen. Reaction of metal with steam, not steam. Steam gives metal oxide plus hydrogen. Okay, na? And we had the following examples. Okay. Further, the reactivity of metal with water differs. Sodium, potassium, and calcium will react even with the cold water because they're very reactive metals. Magnesium will react slowly with hot water to form slightly soluble magnesium hydroxide. What we're saying in the case of magnesium, it will react slowly. It will not react fast, not vigorously. Further, aluminum, zinc, and iron, they will react with the steam, that is with the hot water. Then we have the example of lead, copper, silver, and gold. They do not react with water at all. Hope this much should be clear to you. So we learned about the reaction of metals with water. Taking the case of the reaction of non-metals with the water, so the reactivity of the non-metal with the water, it varies depending on the non-metal that we have in question. But nonetheless, generally we see that most of them do not react with water. Okay, now so if the question asks about reaction of non-metal with water, our simple answer is that generally reaction of non-metal with water does not occur. Is that clear to you?
Sir.
Okay. Then we have the reaction of metal with acids. So when the reaction of metal with acids take place, so metal is going to react with acid to give a salt plus hydrogen gas. Salt plus hydrogen gas is released. Let's take some example. Okay, now let's take one example to understand this. So let's take one activity as well. Okay, now okay. Let's say that we have taken a metal here. Okay. Let's say we have taken magnesium. Magnesium is a metal, and we are going to right now what we're trying to learn here, we're going to learn about the reaction of metal with acids, how it reacts. Okay, now, and as a conclusion we will see that hydrogen gas will be liberated, it will be given off along with salt also. So we have taken 4 test tubes. What you have done, you have taken 4 different test tubes: test tube A, test tube B, and test tube C. In these different test tubes, in the first one what you have done, you have put the dilute hydrochloric acid. Getting it? In the second one again, you have taken a dilute HCl. Okay, now in all of these, in fact, you have taken the dilute HCl. All right. Now in the first one, what you're going to do? So when you're going to put magnesium in the first one. Getting it? We are going to do? In the
Yes, sir.
first one, we have added magnesium, in short written as Mg. In the second one, we have added a piece of aluminum foil, right? In the third one, we have added iron. Some small pieces of iron have been added. And in the fourth one, you have added copper wire. So all of these are metal and reaction is going to take place. Okay. Now what we are going to say here, that when reaction takes place in all these three now, so some gas will be given off. I mean to say in all four reaction is going to take place. We know when reaction occurs, a gas will be given off. Like we know that when metals react with acid, a hydrogen gas is given off. But some of the metals are very less reactive now. So hydrogen gas might not be given in that one. Getting it, Ramesh?
Yes, sir.
So we are going to bring a lighted matchstick near to the mouth of every test tube here. So when we brought the lighted matchstick near to the first test tube, a pop sound was produced. You know this, you know this production of this pop sound is the characteristic of the hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas burns with a pop sound. When the hydrogen gas will be burning, it gives a pop sound. So pop sound was produced in the first one. Okay. Pop sound was produced in the second one also. And the pop sound was produced in the third one also. What does it tells us? It tells us that magnesium, aluminum, and iron they react with the dilute hydrochloric acid to give hydrogen gas. But when we brought the matchstick near to the copper test tube, now the test tube that had copper in it does not give any hydrogen gas. So what does this shows? This shows that copper metal does not react with dilute hydrochloric acid. Getting it now? But it will
Yes, sir.
react with a concentrated acid because it is less reactive than other metals. Is that thing clear to you? So we have one more example. We have the example of zinc that is going to react with acid to give zinc chloride and hydrogen gas. Zinc chloride and hydrogen gas is given here. So zinc chloride is the salt formed here, and the hydrogen gas is the gas that is being released here. Okay, now zinc chloride, like that is the zinc reacting with hydrochloric acid. As a result of this, you see that zinc chloride is formed. And what is zinc chloride? It is a salt that is being formed. Apart from this, hydrogen gas is released. Hydrogen gas is released. So our observation in this reaction, the reaction so far we have learned in the case of reaction of metal with acid is that bubbles would be formed, and the bubbles indicates the production of hydrogen gas. Bubbles indicates the production of the hydrogen gas. Another thing we have seen that the temperature will also change because when the reaction takes place here, as a reaction, you might see if you were to touch the test tube, it might become warmer. It becomes warmer. Okay, now so that is the observation which we will see in the first three test tubes where the reaction is taking place here. But in the fourth one, no reaction takes place because copper does not react with a weak hydrochloric acid, but will react with a concentrated with a strong acid. That is one thing. So we learned about the reaction of metal with with the reaction of metal with acid, where salt is given and hydrogen gas is also given. In the case of non-metals do not react with acids. Got this now? That is one thing. Okay. Talking about the reaction of metal with the bases. Okay. So metals will react with the bases. Some of them will react with bases. We can take some example here. Okay. Let's say we have taken 5 ml of freshly prepared sodium hydroxide solution. Say that you have taken it in a boiling test tube. Okay. What is this? This is 5 milliliter of sodium hydroxide. What is sodium hydroxide? Is it an acid or a base?
It's an acid.
Sodium hydroxide. How is it an acid?
Oh, it's a base.
It's a base now. Now in this you have dropped some aluminum pieces. Okay, now this is aluminum. Okay. Now you're going to heat this over a burner. Take a burner and over the burner start to heat this. Now after reaction is taking place here, okay, now like when the reaction will take place here between the aluminum and the sodium hydroxide, you will see that if you were to bring a lighted matchstick near to this now, you will hear a pop sound. What will you hear? You will hear a pop sound. And what does this pop sound tell you? Which gas is being released here? The production of the pop sound. What does this tell? What does this tell you? Is it the hydrogen, oxygen, or carbon dioxide gas? Ramesh, are you having some network issue?
Yes, sir.
I was saying that when the reaction between this metal and this base takes place, okay, so and after reaction that has taken place, when you bring a lighted matchstick near to the mouth of the test tube, a pop sound is produced, and pop sound shows that hydrogen gas is being released here. A hydrogen gas is being released here. Okay, now so here metals would be reacting with the bases. Huh? So metals react with bases to give hydrogen gas. It gives hydrogen gas. Getting it now? So most of the metals are not going to react, but there are only some metals that are going to react. Got this now? What I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that is one thing. Apart from that, a salt is also formed on this reaction. A salt is also formed. So here we had this aluminum reacting with sodium hydroxide. As a result of this, a salt was formed plus hydrogen gas is given off here. So that is the case of the metals reacting with the bases. But majority of the metals don't react with base. Keep that in mind. Only some metals would be reacting with the bases. Okay, no? Like aluminum, like zinc or lead, they can react with bases, and only those bases that are strong. Getting it? What I'm trying to say? So examples of metals that react are zinc and aluminum. They will be reacting with base to give salt and hydrogen gas. Okay, and in order to confirm that hydrogen gas is being formed here, you can bring a lighted matchstick near to the mouth of the test tube. The hydrogen gas will cause a popping sound here. Talking about again the reaction of non-metal with bases, they do not react with bases at all. Okay, no, non-metals do not react with the bases at all. So that is the case here. So here we have finished the reaction, different kind of reactions we have finished. Okay, now if you happen to have any questions from that, please let me know. Otherwise, there's one more topic, that is displacement reaction.
No doubt, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask some questions to you. Okay, and that will clear. I will understand whether you have understood it or not. Do tell me what will happen when metals with react with oxygen.
They form oxides,
What kind of oxide? Acidic or
metal
basic?
oxide.
Yeah,
It's
metal
a
oxide.
base,
Base.
basic.
What about the reaction of non-metal with oxygen?
It will cause acidic.
Acidic. Okay. And will all the metals react with oxygen?
Uh, yeah.
No. How can all the
No.
metals? Gold and silver, they do not react with oxygen, no, as I told you.
Okay.
Which metals will react vigorously with air?
Sodium and potassium.
Potassium. Very good. Okay. Do tell me, are there some oxides by the name of amphoteric oxides that can react with both acids and bases?
Yes, sodium.
Not sodium. It's
Uh,
aluminum oxide. No?
Aluminium. Okay.
Okay. How does the metal react with water? If it's cold water, then what is produced?
Hydroxide.
Metal hydroxide, along with hydrogen gas.
Hydrogen.
If it's hot water, then
It'll oxide, metal oxide.
metal oxide, along with
Hydrogen.
hydrogen gas. Okay, no? Okay. Do tell me, are there some metals that can even react with the cold water?
What?